Wanna Believe Radio.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to Michigan's #1 paranormal show, I Want to Believe Radio.
That's quite a jump. Bob. Yeah. Welcome to the Paranormal Now
I don't know of any other paranormal show, but this is I Want to Believe Talk Radio,
right.
Brought to you by the Paranormal Now Network. We are played on 89.9 WKDS here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, as well as our website, which is Dan.
I knew you were going to ask me that. You're the one that set it up.
Well, actually, it is para, P-A-R-A dash now, N-O-W.com. So that would be forwarded to our new website, which we will have all of the archives and the future guests of our show. That information will be there on that website.
And there is content already running. We got Sherilyn Carter up there right now, and also on Live Radio 1, which is about to relaunch very, very soon here. You'll have content on those channels as well, along with what we're doing. And we're excited. We're excited to do what we do, and again, always offering up good information, real information, having guests on that speak straight from their perspective, and that's what this is about.
Right, exactly. It's an open platform.
Absolutely.
We are very non-judgmental about things. We just like to share the information and get it out to the masses. And, of course, my name is Bob, and with me is
Dan. Bob's known as Scrubs. I'm Big Dog.
And we've got Elmer there.
Elmer.
The boss master. Elmer, are you there with us?
Just so you know, I am very judgmental.
Well, we know that. We can't help that.
That's because you're from Ohio. That's how that goes, apparently.
Are you Ohioans?
Well, you know.
Southern Ohio?
Yeah.
Got my Ohio accent. Are you hanging out with Mothman lately, Elmer, or what?
No, I've been running around the woods.
I see you've definitely found some interesting things hiding in the trees down there, but definitely not the Mothman. We won't comment on that on the air.
Insert
here, but,
that into
might
the
have
show.
been the Mothman. You never know.
It looked like a Mothman to me. You know?
No, I think extraterrestrials were playing a joke. But
all right, guys. Well, I like joking around here, but we've got a wonderful guy who is our guest tonight, and he's been on our show a few times, and we love having him on because.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to.
This is that. Dan,
right.
Big Dog Hall, right?
No, go ahead.
This is actually Dan's first time talking to him.
It is.
But let me tell you, listeners, you guys will be pleased, and you will not be let down one bit. I want to tell you, we have Dr. Michael Lynch, who has a Ph.D., and the man's been a parapsychologist for like almost 30 years. He's investigated everything from ghosts, poltergeist activity, UFOs, ancient civilizations, conspiracy theories, and he uses all kinds of scientific equipment to capture this evidence that he's had, and he actually posts his evidence. I know he's got some YouTube pages out there. He's been featured on many TV shows, such as Discovery Channel, Sci-Fi, Fox Family, ABC Family, Destination America, National Geographic, such shows. I remember TV Fear. I remember watching. That was one of the very first.
Basically, just a plethora of cable network programming.
I mean, that's
awesome.
On Earth. I mean, all the basically
YouTube,
the pioneer
stuff.
shows that kind of turned everybody in or brought everybody into the paranormal world here. He's been in such documentaries by the Booth brothers, actually, which are great friends of ours.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Haunted Boy, Children of the Grave, 2, and I believe also 1. And he's been in many other documentaries as well. And he's also been involved recently with the Destination America channel. A couple years ago, they had actually a special. It was a live exorcism that had taken place at the actual house in Missouri, where the Exorcist actually, that's based on a true story.
Oh, yeah,
a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
And he was actually involved in some of the investigation and involved with that television show where they actually investigated the home that child lived in.
Absolutely.
And he was also involved in the documentary The Haunted Boy, which the Booth brothers had produced along with that. So I think, well, first of all, I mean, we could do the whole show just on his credentials here, but
Absolutely.
Dr. Michael Lynch, welcome to I Want to Believe Radio.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Yes. The poster in Fox Mulder's office is of a UFO. There's UFOs sitting there, and that's a Billy Myers photo.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
And Carl Sagan did a documentary movie kind of thing, and he didn't really say, I want to believe, but he said, I would like to believe that there's other life in the solar system out there. And so that made it was kind of turned into a poster, and Fox Mulder puts it on his wall saying, I want to believe too. We have to have an open mind. We have to have a skeptical but open mind scenario. And all in all, to make a long story short, Carl Sagan was paid by Majestic 12 to mislead the American public. So that is one of the biggest conspiracies no one ever talks about.
So I probably, this is Dan, I probably shouldn't compliment you on the fact that I noticed when you speak, because I've been watching your content on YouTube, binge watching as I should really fess up to. There's times when you speak, you sound a little bit like Carl, so I really don't want that to go against me if I give you that compliment.
It's conspiracy.
Right.
Carl Sagan is...
yeah. Well, when Carl Sagan did the Cosmos series, he intentionally made it sound kind of childish.
Uh-huh.
And so he would always say, like, billions and billions of whatever. And so I kind of copied that, and in a kind of homage to Carl Sagan, because that's where a lot of people got interested in the universe was through Carl Sagan's Cosmos series. And what was the funny thing about it was before he started getting paid by Majestic, he was on Johnny Carson. And this is really funny because Carl Sagan goes, I'm looking for some funding to do a show called Cosmos. And I'm looking for some funding. And Johnny Carson goes, I know some guys who might want to help you on that.
Wow.
And boom, 6 months later, they were making Cosmos in Burbank, California, in Hollywood, at one of the most prestigious studios there was. And Carl Sagan instantly went from that nerdy professor into the limelight of our guide through... Yeah, to the rock star status, yeah. And then that guy, DeGrasse, Tyson...
Tyson, yeah.
Yeah, man, he is, he's not even close to what Carl Sagan was, but he's
making it hip again.
Theory.
I mean, he's making it hip again. I mean, he's definitely drawing people's attention back into this.
Right.
Yeah, but, if you know what I know, it is... It's a comedy series,
right?
And he doesn't deserve to sit in the same chair as Captain Kirk,
right?
Captain Kirk was a much better guide to the cosmos.
Amen.
You know what? You're talking to a couple of Trekkies here, so.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, Dr. Lynch. I really do. I've heard some of the same things from individuals, or read some comments that have been out there, and absolutely.
No, I'm not saying Neil's not a okay guy, but gee whiz, we and he and many others are just scratching the surface, but they blow it so far out of proportion that they're trying to get hype, they're trying to get interest from a younger generation. But you know what? Okay, here's just a sample of how silly this all is. Okay, so you go into Google Universe. There's Google Earth, there's Google Moon, and then there's Google Mars, right? If you go to Google Mars and you go to the South Pole, there is a Pleiadian colony right there, sucking up water, doing hydroponics, having there's 450 Pleiadians right there in pure in total sight, total vision.
Right.
And NASA never blocked it out.
Huh.
So if you want to know if there's life on Mars, yeah, there sure is.
Right.
It's not all human life.
Yeah, it's not the life that we expect.
Pleiadians, and it's Alpha Centaurians, it's
Right.
humans, and these facilities that are above ground have been photographed, and they're right there. You can go and space travel to Mars, look at the South Pole. There's a white object right there. It was there a few years ago when I was doing all that. And so, there's not much of a conspiracy anymore. The conspiracy is called intellectual property.
Yep.
And everything is sacrosanct under intellectual property, but everything else can be just right out in the open. We can sit here and talk about the biggest conspiracies under the sun, and no one's going to care. No one's going to know.
Right.
No one's going to care. There are 20 billion podcasts. There's a trillion online radio stations.
Right.
There's just billions and billions of words being said every second of every day. So many of these people who are as evil as sin walk around, and they want to control the world, and they can do it, right out in the open. And no one's either going to believe them or take them seriously enough to even pay attention, because we're being bombarded with so much information.
Right.
And
It's very true. I think Bob and I have discussed that before ourselves, how it, when you can control the content, bend it, put it in such a spectrum that people are being fooled and kind of pushed into a box to only think inside that box, and they don't really realize it. You're right. It turns into a thing where nobody cares, because I think they're just they're fed from the trough. It's crazy.
Elmer, you have a comment?
Well, I think me and Lynch has talked about this before, about the dumbing of America and the world. I mean, if you just look at some. If you look at some of the crap that's on TV, it's like the Kardashians, all this stuff.
People love that voyeurism. Yeah. They like to watch other people live their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, crap. It's out there. Like, I want to believe radio. And wait, what?
Look at all the files that's been released about UFOs in the last few years, and nobody gives a crap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. We already admitted to Area 51.
Yeah, Project Blue Book, has been released, and
all this
you don't
UFO
hear that.
information. Just 3 or 4 months ago, they had actually released, hey, Roswell did happen. After all these years of saying, it didn't happen, it was swamp gas, this, that, and the other. It's kind of like the dumbing of America. I hate to say it like that, but
I think we're sensitized to it too a little bit.
I wanted to ask you, Dr. Lynch. We're kind of on the subject, and you brought up the Mars thing, because I know Bob's got a specific content that he wants to kind of get to with you in the interview tonight. But I had a question, with the Mars and the Moon, information. Do you think that we have been there, and as part of these colonies, these secret bases? Do you think we've been there for quite a while?
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind, man. Now you got to understand, you really have to wrap your mind around this. Mars is not what we think of Mars. Mars is a planet, but it's not under our control. The moon is not our moon. It was brought here from another civilization as a complete planet and died in transit because they had no sun. The buildings on the moon and the underground excavations and the mining operations that go on there today have been going on there for almost 200,000 years when they first brought it here. And now, again, because it was a planet that had very little or no molten interior, they could mine it all the way through. And once they could mine into the depths of the moon, it just became a space station, a perfect centralized space station. And once they put it in orbit around the Earth, there's a YouTube video. I can't remember them all, but there's a YouTube video called 10 Things About the Moon. And if you watch that video, you'll see that the moon is in a perfect orbit. It is a perfect size for a solar eclipse. It varies 3 inches from the Earth throughout the course of the year, closer or further away. The moon, it has buildings on it, domes, that are still there today that have been fractured or punctured. And on the dark side of the moon, there are several bases that are still there. Now, they're not run by us, because it's not our moon. That moon was brought here. And the same thing goes on. Okay, so we need, on the Earth, we need a couple of things. We need gold, and we need palladium, and we need plastics, and we need certain things. So what do? We just go mine or drill for it. Mm-hmm. So once we get it, we refine it, and then we put it into our society and into a function. Gold becomes electronic chips or connectors or currency or whatever. Oil becomes plastic. Now, let's say we're at the end of whatever gold we have or whatever we're getting low on.
Right.
Immediately we start looking for other resources for the similar materials. So we have to look into a similar astrophysical area, general area. And that is like Mars, heavy, dense planet. Like Venus, heavy, dense planet. So that we can actually go to these places, mine for that, the same things we require here on Earth, and use those materials to come back and then resupply us on Earth. So other civilizations further out into our galaxy have seen that Mars is very easy to work with. There's no water. There's very little flooding. You can't, you can drill and drill on Mars and there's no one there to bother you.
Right.
You see. So you have options. And let me just throw this out there. Okay. What if you have a planet that is low on fresh water? A planet that is dying because there's not enough water, or their colonies need water and there's just not enough water. Well, you go to a planet such as Neptune, and you start taking the water off that planet. And then you ship it throughout the galaxy to whatever planets need water. Okay? And we had just gone through this phase just a few weeks ago where the Zeta Reticulans have shown up, demanded that they take the water from Neptune, and as soon as they got what they wanted, they left. And the Pleiadian Council said, no problem. We'll take it, but we're not friends. I mean, the Zeta Reticulans and the Pleiadians are not friends. And the entire solar system that we understand is under the Pleiadian jurisdiction. So no one comes here to Earth. They can't come here and they can't overthrow us because the Pleiadians are in control of it. So this is really not even our planet, and we are, in all practical purposes, a kept species. We are a race on a planet that they will not allow us to get off of. But, using their technology, they can fly from Earth to Mars in a couple of hours, put in a station, drill for exotic materials, and bring people back. It goes on all the time. Whether it's done in a Solar Warden or whether it's done in a smaller ship, that is what's going on.
Right, that's great.
Every week, every 2 weeks, there's a run, Solar Warden run for food, oxygen, water, whatever they need. There's about 100,000 humans on Mars. There's another 100,000 other species. There's probably 25,000 Alpha Centaurians, Pleiadians. They're all off and on Mars, just like the Moon. It's a base.
You think they've intermixed?
Off and on.
You think they've intermixed and interbred with the human society?
Oh yeah. Well, they didn't really interbreed. That's just how little boys and how guys get a Playboy and they go, man, I'd like to breed with her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're just a dog. We're a mutt.
I gotcha.
We're a mutt. They're not going to breed with us. They don't need to.
We're the lower species.
Right. What they did was they injected us. They injected us with several of their parts of their DNA. And one is the DMAT gene, the D-M-A-T gene, and the HAR gene. And also the DAR, the D-A-R gene. There's 3 or 4 genes out there that we have that no other species on the planet has. It took 4 generations for them to inject us so that we would then inherit the genetic code in order for it to go into an offspring. So they had to have a breeding population in order to get to a certain point. Okay, so all of a sudden we have places on the planet that have Cro-Man.
Right.
And then we have Neanderthals, right next door to each other, mowing the yard, putting up a picket fence. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're right next door to each other. They have a totally different genetic code.
Right. Not even related. Exactly.
One is enhanced. Okay, so let's say I brought this up on another show, but anyway, I'll repeat myself. I hate to say it, but
no, that's what you're here for. Yeah.
Okay, now think of it like this: a chimpanzee is 97.8% human, 97.8% same DNA. We have about 2.5% more of DNA than he does. Okay. And look what we can do. We can do magic. We can build the internet, run electrical wires. Right. We can drive in a car. We have cognitive consciousness. Okay. Now, we only have a couple of different. We have just a couple more pieces of DNA than he does.
Right.
Okay. What if you come across a person that has 10,000 more DNA than you do? Okay. So the average human's walking around with 20,000 genes. 20,000 genes, that's all we've got. 20,000. There are octopi in the ocean that have 40,000, and they turn invisible. They're like chameleons. They can shape shift into anything that they're hanging on to, and you can't see them. Okay, there's squid that talk with fluorescent light.
Yep.
They have more genetic code than we do. Okay, now let's walk down the street. Here's a Pleiadian. That Pleiadian has 30,000 genes. 30,000. We have 20,000 genes. Okay, what can that person do that I can't? I can't even imagine what that person can do.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you brought a good point. I mean, are there certain individuals that may be selected, like you look at your Steve Jobs or your, some of your really smart guys that have changed technology, you know what I'm saying?
To manipulate
or
things,
even
right.
certain individuals that have certain psychic abilities or certain strengths.
But they never show up in history. No. They are not human, so they don't show up in history.
Right.
But if they really like you, like Nikola Tesla or Albert Einstein, they give you a clue.
Wow.
See? Yeah, they give you a clue. And then if you work with that clue, you have revolutionized the consciousness of mankind.
Yep. And Dr. Lynch, you beat me to that. I was just going to ask about Einstein, being
Yeah. Einstein was a child.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
right.
You take all of Einstein's physics at the time, a 10-year-old could have done it.
Yep.
Okay? It was not that he had something new or revolutionary. It was just that the modern science of the time was not going to accept it.
Right.
Because they had not seen it in that direction. So they were not going to accept it. So his fight was to prove from theoretical science into a practical science that this was going to work.
Yeah.
It did work. His understanding on how physics worked actually did work, which gave us the roadmap to the atomic bomb and television and other things.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Nikola Tesla said, okay, Albert Einstein, his original concepts of relativity was in a daydream, a dream, that he was riding a light beam, a photon of light. Nikola Tesla said that he would go to sleep, or he would dream a dream, and then next day he would build it, put it together. And then he developed, energy, free energy, so
amazing,
all
man.
These concepts,
Listen.
These concepts may not have been, extraterrestrial,
right?
But at least they gave us the nudge into the direction to make every person on the planet think differently in a different direction.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Einstein didn't run around and say physics is BS. All you old men in German physics, it's all BS, right? He didn't say that. He said, here's a new idea I want you to take a look at, and he spent the next 30 years proving it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the whole idea. A lot of people go and have dreams, and they wake up the next day. There was a chemist, I forget his name, but he dreamt of how to draw a chemical on a piece of paper, and he had a dream that these snakes were biting each other's tails, and it made it like an octagon. And he goes, oh yeah, that's what it'll do. And so he started drawing these chemical formulas with these straight lines and little dots, and that's how modern chemistry was developed. Now we do it in 3D modeling, but it's totally along the same concept.
Are you a believer? I mean, I would imagine you are, speaking on this, in physics. And I think we'll probably.
Actually, if you want to hold that thought, we're going to take a quick break here.
Bob was giving me the signal.
All right, guys, you're listening to I Want to Believe Radio. We are talking with Dr. Michael Lynch, PhD. We're talking about all sorts of things. So be prepared if you are just joining us. Be prepared to have your mind blown. So with that, we will be back. You're listening to I Want to Believe Radio on the Paranormal Now Network and on 89.9 WKDS, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Done this.
Folks, we are back. You are listening to I Want to Believe Talk Radio, brought to you by the Paranormal Now Network. You can listen to us on 89.9 FM, WKDS in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And you can also go to our website, which is para-now.com, and download the archives. Listen to the podcast while you're out shoveling your driveway or mowing your lawn or exercising at the gym.
I pray they're not mowing their lawn right now, but yeah. You're here as always with Bob Penny, who's got years of experience paranormal. Same with Elmer Boster. I'm Dan Holroyd of the Southern Michigan Paranormals. Bob is also in that group with us currently, and we appreciate you guys being here and listening to the program. And Bob and Elmer were able to get tonight's guest.
Yeah, a great friend of the program, Dr. Michael Lynch, who has so many years of experience and scientific methodology and research into all aspects of basically this. I don't know if you want to say paranormal, supernatural, because, I mean, it's very normal. We just don't understand it. We just don't comprehend it.
I bow to this gentleman because, as I said, I love to talk. And when I got to watching this series, and Dr. Lynch, this is also a compliment. I mean, I'd love to just sit and listen to you and listen to you and listen to you because you definitely feed my mind. Right. Yep. You're a great speaker. You have great information. I think where I left off before we took the break is I had a question about where we are with our understanding of science and physics, because there's many times I get into a small debate with individuals that, I'll watch a documentary, and it's okay to always be a healthy skeptic. I've never had an issue with that. It's not a dirty word. But I think some people think that we can't do certain things, or certain things are almost impossible outside our sphere of understanding, and I really have an issue with that, because just because we think we know due to our science and our physics, how do we know that's the end to be all? Because I don't buy it. There may be other species or people out there that they can do things that we wouldn't even grasp. Do you think that's a feasible way to look at it?
Yeah, let me just put it to you this way. Everything in our environment, whether it be God or gold, is natural. It belongs here. It's a fundamental of natural properties. There's nothing here that is abnormally natural.
Right.
There's nothing here. Okay, if antimatter existed, it couldn't exist here because it would bombard matter and explode and it'd be gone.
Right.
So if we're talking about ghosts, if we're talking about CERN's Hadron Collider, or if we're talking about the Hubble telescope, it's all natural. It all exists in our natural reality, in our natural states of reality. Okay. Now, there is no boson. There may be a Higgs, but there's no boson. Okay. Half of the stuff that we think that is particle matter is bogus.
Yep.
Flat out. And I'll debate any nuclear physicist on this, because we have a theory, but we don't have a reality.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So today, okay, I reported this on, well, I had a real radio segment for 14 years. So one day I came in and I put a piece of paper down on the table and I said, okay, today the incandescent Albert Edison light bulb is dead. And there is something called a new LED light that will be far more efficient, use less electricity, and after 50 years of the fluorescent or incandescent bulb, it will now be replaced with LED. And everybody looked at me like, oh, get out of town, Lynch. You don't know what you're talking about.
No.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
And today you go down to Home Depot or Lowe's or Target or Goodwill, and there's tons of these LED light bulbs that are everywhere.
Yeah.
I replace all my lights in my house with
these ones anymore.
Dad, from his grandfather, got a Model T Ford and drove this Model T around when he was about a kid, like 14 years old, okay? And if I walked up to him and told him, hey, man, there's going to be a car called a Ferrari, and it's going to go 260 miles an hour on the highway. You know, people would sit there and just say, you're just so full of it, you know.
Right.
So what we have, and I talked about this last time, I think I was on your show or another show, we have theories that are in motion. They're constantly in flux and in motion. We don't have the hardware.
Right.
And I will tell you over and over again, this nation, as proud as you want to be of it, is built on failures.
Yep.
Yes.
Edison tried 2,000 times to make a light bulb, and he failed 2,000 times.
Right.
And someone asked him, "Are you going to give up?" And he says, "No, I just found out 2,000 different ways on how to not to make a light bulb."
Right.
So we are failing at a ratio of 2,000 to 1. So for every 2,000 failures, we get one thing that we can build on and then jump to the next level.
And Bob
you
and I,
see what I'm talking about?
Right, yeah, and Bob and I have had that discussion many times where we've said that exact thing, and then there's a byproduct at times, as you just laid out, Dr. Lynch, with, you know, these gentlemen trying to get to that end of that theory. Other things come up that they're able to use. You know, there's a surprise thing that they discover, and we're always amazed that everybody thinks sometimes it's on purpose, and I think probably 90% or more really isn't.
Right.
No, it's all by accident.
Right,
we're dumb as doornails.
Right.
The human race, we're all dumb as doornails. Now we need to wrap our heads around that and move on. But we're okay. So what the deal is that reality that we understand is based primarily on a theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now there are realities, there are parts of this reality we can detect, and we can build machines to detect it. But the real reality that supports this reality is so refined and micro energy, nano energy levels that it's almost impossible for us to create equipment to find that level. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So what you do is you kind of have to work outside the box.
Right.
You can't allow the weight of all this garbage to weigh you down. So what you do is you go, okay, what works, what doesn't work, and let's work with what does work. So then after we make 1,000 mistakes, we'll figure out the next thing that will work, you see. And then that's how the human race has evolved.
Absolutely.
Okay, get this. A computer, the ability for a computer to function at such a great speed is statistically going straight up. There is no curve anymore. A computer built in this second right now can outperform all other computers before it 10 times to 1,000 times faster. And it's going to exponentially continue to increase. Okay?
Yep.
The human brain takes 10 years just to be able to walk upright, run, and do math.
That is true.
We are not exponentially increasing our intelligence.
Sometimes longer with some folks.
Well,
Just saying.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, what do you think about it too, Dr. Lynch? Say we've evolved so much, but yet we have not evolved a lot in this last century. I mean, I know back in the 50s, the big thing, when people were thinking 2018, they were thinking we would all be flying in space like the Jetsons and this and that.
Where's my flying car?
We don't ever flying cars. I mean, yes, we've got computers, we've got the internet, we've got better TVs, high definition TVs and some things, but we really have not evolved as far as technology in the way that we had originally thought we would. You know, that whole space age has never arrived yet. Is there some control factors with that? Are they trying to control us so that way we don't ever evolve to where we're out in space and messing around?
I think you alluded to that, yeah.
Exactly, because we're a kept species. Okay,
That's right.
okay. So I'm talking to a Pleiadian that has 10,000 more strings of DNA in their system, right?
Yep.
And they look at me like that loyal, huggable, lovable little shoeshine boy underdog.
Oh, that's how
okay?
Dan's looking at me right now.
And then they go, wait a second, Mike, I got to make a long distance phone call. And I go, okay. So I'm just watching them, right? And they're talking to somebody on the other side of the universe in real time.
Crazy.
Okay. Why? Because thoughts travel faster and simultaneously than light.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they, with their extra DNA, have the ability to be telepathic or psychic or genetically however they want to be. And so when we're talking about vast distances, we're not talking radio signal. We're not talking RF. We're talking telepathic. So Captain Kirk can be way out into space and tell Lieutenant Uhura and say, hey, how long will it take before our signal reaches our Starfleet command? And she'll say, a week or 3 weeks. And he'll just have to sit there and have sex with the aliens or something. But anyway, so the deal is...
Which is what he was known for, yes, exactly.
Yeah, he says, I've got to, if I can't kill him, I'll have to have sex with him. But the deal is that that's how long subspace had to travel. If it traveled by the speed of light, and even if it goes through a wormhole, a micro hole, then, it's going to take some time. But what if Captain Kirk, in the same scenario, turns to Lieutenant Uhura and says, telepathically send them our data. And then she would just think it, boom, it's there instantaneously. Starfleet command goes, go ahead, blast them or whatever. And it would be within seconds, milliseconds. Because once we understand how the universe actually works, and the universe looks like and is designed in a fractal equation based upon the human brain, then we can tap into that network, the greatest internet of them all, and zip through it into node after node after node until we get to where we want to go, or we can just go in a straight line. Because the universe is always on.
Right.
It is constantly in motion and energetically always on. So it's never turned off. So we can use it 24/7.
And this is why I love listening to you. You're so on target, right? You're so on target.
If we had, now here's the problem. We can't evolve. We're dumb as doornails and we're going to stay this way. Do you know why? Because we don't have any more DNA being injected into our rumpus so that we can evolve.
Right.
So
this is it, Dan. We've evolved, buddy.
I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying.
know.
I think each generation there's changes and there's things that obviously physically happen, but I've been aware of that for a long time. I thought I think we're at a point where we're not going, as Dr. Lynch is saying, we're not going beyond a certain point, and I don't know that we ever will.
No,
it seems like we're stuck in this circle.
We'll never now. Okay. Now let's back up. Okay, now a few years ago, I was involved in a study. Mm-hmm. Okay, the study was for testosterone replacement, hormone therapy replacement in men with synthetic and bovine testosterone or synthetic hormone,
which is cow.
Okay, yeah, a lot of this stuff was really interesting because it didn't really stop the aging process, but it really rebuilt some of the peptides and enzymes in the blood and in the muscle. So people could break down sugars better, muscles became stronger faster, people were able to heal up better, they were able to be healed, and all this other stuff. And everybody goes, oh, this is gangbusters, this is the next revolutionary science for the elderly, Right. And then you had kids start taking it, and then they went crazy and killed people or whatever.
Right.
But the whole idea was it was a hormone replacement therapy. Okay, now we get a few years down the road, right? And then some lucky genius goes, hey, why don't we take a quote-unquote stem cells from the person's body and then inject a new DNA or from the original DNA back into them, and let's see what happens. And lo and behold, their livers start to regenerate. Their lungs start to regenerate. Muscles start to regenerate. So stem cells taken at, let's say you're a baby, and the nurse comes in and takes a vial of blood, okay? She takes that blood and she puts it in the freezer, okay? Now you're 50. Okay, 50 years later, you go get that vial of blood and you start pulling that DNA out. Your body starts to accept your own DNA, but at a 50-year earlier time. So your liver regenerates to when you were a child. Your lungs can regenerate to when you were a child. And it takes about a year for that to happen. So immortality starts coming down to your own genes replacing parts of your body that are wearing out, that just cellularly are wearing out. And so you get to a point of saying, yes, I could live forever, period. That's not a problem. 300 years, 800 years is not a problem as long as I have the original code of the DNA for myself. I could do that. Now, okay, let's say somebody in the military gets really smart, and they go, we need super soldiers. So let's run around and grab DNA from 10,000 people, and we'll start to selectively approach this problem of longevity, increased muscle mass, increased heart size, increased lung size, and the ability to repair itself almost automatically. And what we'll do is we'll get artificial insemination tubes, and then we will put them in there. We'll create our own super soldiers without a female. We don't even need females anymore. So they pull them out of petri dishes, they select the chromosomes, they select the DNA that they want, and then lo and behold, you have a 16-year-old that's twice and 3 times stronger than the average person. He's smarter, stronger, faster, and he's able to go into battle at a moment's notice. Virtually a cloned, trained army to do whatever is being bid, whatever their bidding is. So if you think that, okay, you could live forever with the genes you got, think of these guys living forever and being a perpetual weapon.
Right.
Now, is this something that the government is actually doing or trying? I mean,
I think, yeah, they've accomplished it.
Right.
They have accomplished it.
I had read a memoir, and I'm having a memory issue here later in life, but it was from some gentleman who did some OSS work during World War II, so you probably know where I'm going with this next question. They were privy to some information that the Nazis were doing some things along those lines, but they knew there was an outside influence where they were getting some of this, I don't know if you want to call it tech, but obviously the science and some other things that were involved. And that's something that they were kind of working on.
The Vril Society, from the Vrilians, from Aldebaran.
I mean, just crazy stuff. But these are from OSS, past OSS officers before they shortly passed away. So, crazy. So,
no, they weren't crazy.
Well, I just meant it's just a crazy thing to wrap your head around. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. Because really, it's such a small world that we live in this huge universe.
Okay. Oh my God.
I know. We keep opening up more doors. That's why we had you on.
Yeah,
we want you to run with it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just spill this out real quick, and no one's going to believe me, but I really don't care anymore because that's just the way paranormal works.
I'm with you, my friend.
We're all listening here.
We're there too.
Around 16,000 years ago. 16,000 years ago, a Pleiadian colony came to America. I mean, not America. Oh my God, I'm getting crazy. They came to Switzerland, Sweden, in that area, and they made a Pleiadian base 16,000 years ago. And they stayed there as long as they possibly could until the technology wore down. Now, if you want to come up with the Odin and Thor and Ragnarok and Hitler's dream soldiers, it came from those Pleiadians that landed 16,000 years ago and maintained a colony there all the way up, almost all the way up until the last 2,000 years or so. And then the colony started to break down because of inbreeding. They could not breed with themselves anymore. So they had to branch out. They had to branch out to other human type civilizations. Mm-hmm. So you had the Celtics. So the Celtics became an offspring of those people, and they moved out. The Vikings, all that is an offspring of this Pleiadian colony, and that's where Hitler's idea of this Aryan race super soldier came from, and that the Viril society connected with the Pleiadians and Aldebaran in order to give them psychically downloaded information. Okay, now, oh my God, I got a picture of her right over here, and I got to move my phone here. But anyway, I have a picture of a lady. Her name is something Ostrich. She's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed lady. Shows up, introduces herself to Adolf Hitler, and says, I'm Maria Ostrich. I think her name is Maria Ostrich. Mm-hmm. And I'm a conduit from Aldebaran. And if you want your Wunderweapons, if you want your super weapons, you will allow me to form a society called the Viril Society. Viril means Vermana. Vermana means Viril. It's the energy to make things levitate. Vermanas are UFOs. Mana is another word for energy. So Viril, Vermana is all UFO stuff, craft.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maria Ostrich comes in with falsified papers, falsified everything, because she is a Pleiadian. She's just there, okay? Well, lo and behold, Hitler thinks she's the greatest in the world and starts backing her up, and they do make some craft, hovercraft, basically.
Right.
And they were able to fly. Now, I ran that by a double agent in the OSI, so he proved it. But he says the logos on the paper were wrong. He says this is a different branch. They weren't over the air. This was the Air Force. This was a different branch of, so he says some of the things are wrong, but a lot of the stuff is perfect German, is correct. Mm-hmm. And the photographs were correct. Okay. So at the end of the war, 1944 rolls around, latter part of 44 rolls around, and boom, Maria Ostrich disappears with several other people. Just walk, they don't walk away, they just disappear.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then 60 years later, she shows. Well, more like, boy, I forget how old I am after a while. So 90 years later, she shows up, and she's hanging out with a Rothschild. And this is Marie Ostrich under a different name, different hair color, and she's identical. She's not the granddaughter. She's not the daughter. She is Marie Ostrich, right, hanging out with a Rothschild, trying to sell the Chinese on UFO technology. Wow. And how I did that was I took the picture from 1938, and I overlaid it with the photograph that I had, and it was 99.7% accurate.
Yeah, comparative overlay. Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
So she's either 24 years old and masquerading as Maria Ostrich's granddaughter, or she is Maria Ostrich just back from Aldebaran.
Yeah. I was smiling.
You know what the thing is?
Go ahead, Elmer.
The thing is, you're sitting here reminding me, Lynch, of what Nazis were also trying to make super soldiers. And it was also trying to fuse humans with animals too, which goes back to the Atlanteans, and they're I guess you could say camaraderie with the Pleiadians as well. And actually, you know, recent years, I think I remember, gosh, how long was it? It was like early 2000s, maybe 98, 2000, something along those lines, that there was a guy on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell was talking about, you know, they had actually actually succeed into finally making a hybrid. You know, the Nazis, the Russians were trying to make a hybrid human-animal, if you remember correctly, but they could never figure it out. And
well, I can tell. Yeah, well, I'll tell you why in a second. But go ahead. Yeah.
But you know, the thing is, like they was talking about, this guy was really talking about. I cannot remember his name. If I ever get that guy's name, I'm gonna have him on the show. I don't care if I have to like do a bloodletting to Satan or whatever. You know, this guy's got to get on the show.
Elmer. That's why we love you.
Yeah, but you know, the guy was talking. He said, I think it was out in Utah. One of the creatures got loose, and it was like a woman cheetah hybrid, and they had to track this woman down. Well, I guess you want to say that's a woman. I really don't know, and you know, I mean, if Captain Kirk can make love to his space women, hey, you know. But anyway, digress.
I was going to make a joke and say, I know right where that lady is. That's my ex-wife, but we're not going to go there. Yeah.
She's a cougar. She's
right.
a cougar, not a panther.
Right.
But I'll tell you what. If you guys ever get your hands, go on the website, go on the internet, go in and look for The Coming of Tan. T-A-N. It's a book. The Coming of Tan.
T-A-N. Okay.
T-A-N. And it's about this guy who was abducted several times and taken to a space station orbiting Saturn. Mm-hmm. The space station was so large, it was actually filmed or photographed by the Cassini orbiting satellite. And it had been there for years.
Dan, you're shaking your head. I mean, you've heard about...
I have. I mean, there's a lot of things that I get into. But go ahead, Dr. Lynch.
Yeah. Then it just disappears.
Yep.
Then that space station just disappears after a while because they got all the raw ore they need.
Right.
So in The Coming of Tan, the guy is abducted and taken to that space station, and there he sees a lady that looks like a cat. It's half cat, half female. And so, you know, we used to call it the Heinz 57. There are 57 known species in the galaxy that visit us from time to time. But now I heard a guy call in and say, well, some of it's now 67. We call it 67 now.
Myself, personally, for taking the time out to be with us here on I Want to Believe Radio.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to being with
As
you again.
always,
it's
an honor to have you on.
See, the deal is, it's not whether I want to believe or not. It's whether can I believe.
Can I believe?
You know, can I believe that? And then if you can believe that, you've gone a lot further.
That's right, man.
Hey, you guys be good. Stay warm.
Yeah, we will. You too, Dr. Michael Lynch, and we'll talk to you soon, and thank you for coming on.
You've been listening to I Want to Believe Radio. You can find us on Facebook at I Want to Believe Radio Facebook. Also on YouTube under Paranormal Now. Join us again next time, right here for I Want to Believe Radio.